What IDs do I want to see in Limbus Company? By me. This video was made by me. Quick thing to note, while this video is going to be mainly focused on Walpurgis not adding in abnormalities / characters from the other games, it would be wrong to say I don't have a few characters sprinkled in here from Limbus who didn't get an ID despite absolutely deserving one. Also, answering a commonly asked question, why do you just read off the text in the slides? 1. It's my script. It's my script for the video, as I do not want to fill in the video with unnecessary babbling, as that feels disingenuous and I don't feel like keeping you here for more than you need to be. 2. Not everyone has great hearing. Text can help. I want my videos to be accessible as possible even if they aren't that serious, and I don't want people with those disabilities feeling left out. I personally work in the field of individuals with developmental disabilities as a teacher's assistant, and I hate how inaccessible some content online can be. I know this may annoy some of you, but honestly, I don't care. If you want to critique how people speak off their slides, go be an English teacher and not a YouTube commenter. Yujin Ryoshu. The She IDs need a quote-unquote lifter so bad, and She Faust was simply not it. We all want Boundary of Death in this game, don't even lie. Yujin was the GOAT quote-unquote slot-in key page for Library of Runa when you didn't really have anybody else. This ID could be capable of further buffing She identities, clashing power / status affliction. Make Boundary of Death have 4 base power with plus 35 coin power, because I fucking love gambling, and seeing the She Association logo on screen with a massive slash for it would be the most badass shit ever. Dong-Hwan Sinclair, just to piss off that one person who said Dong-Hwan equaled Dante in my comments. What a silly ass theory. Their main basis was that Dong-Hwan has gloves and Dante has gloves. I can fit so much trauma into this one sooner, it's not even funny. Yan Honglu. Yan Vismok actually reflects a lot of Honglu's trauma in the factor of having your actions decide for you and having to comply with an overwhelming force. Index as a faction needs to come to Limbus so we can get 9 unique skills per ID with a discard function that makes a quote-unquote blade unlock state where skill frees become an ultra power attack similar to how they are in Library of Runa. Yan Honglu would be a leader ID for the Index, while other IDs could exist for Esther, Hubert, etc. Some users even have made sprite concepts for Yan Lu, but I will not include them because I do not want to repost someone's fan art without their express permission. I wish other YouTubers felt this way, but what can you do? L-Corp Ego, your ball. Wait, what the fuck? No! L-Corp Ego Crimson Scar. The scenario I chose fitting for this was Ishmael due to her initial obsession with Ahab. This ID would have an unfocused volley on skill free and an alternative mode if below a certain SP threshold, similar to the 2 current magical girls. In the secondary state, regardless of speed, all targets for clashes must clash back with the ID, unless if another sinner makes the attack unfocused. The hunter always gets her mark. L-Corp Ego Cobalt Scar. The scenario I chose for this is Heathcliff. Due to his literal distortion manifesting as a wolf, and PM refuses to elaborate on that, still pissed about him not getting a dog haze show. He would be a self-healing DPS that gains aggro for Crimson Scar to target him for a special skill 3-2, where they fight in the middle of the field and deal more damage to the target of said skill, similar to L-Corp Yusang / Ryoshu's synergy. Cobalt Scar being used on the field will lower Crimson Scar's SP and cause Crimson Scar to enter her secondary state where she can accidentally target friendly units. Heathcliff also fits due to his platonic and often combative nature towards Ishmael even after the events of Canto 5. Shut the fuck up about Heathmail, I do not want to hear it. Punishing Bird. Done. L-Corp Ego Justitia. Honestly, really confused what this would be considering pale damage in Limbus Company isn't really a thing yet. My mind goes between either Rupture or Sinking Focus ID, but I feel as though that would be too boring of a conclusion to come to, and a Justitia ID should do more with the Sin in Library of Runa. What do you think would be a good archetype for the Justitia ID? Lindayu ID. Honestly, I don't know what to say about her, except for I'm surprised she wasn't an ID already at the time of writing this. Especially considering how much of a significant character she's in Canto 8. She already has a fully built toolkit in-game, and special effects despite being an ally unit you see for only like an hour of gameplay. They did so much work for this unit only to just not make an ID based off her whatsoever. I want a Lin Daiyu item. She was cool to fight alongside in the story dungeon, and I want her in my team even if it's like on Otis or some shit. Ricardo, Yiseng ID. Everyone says it should be Heathcliff, which I get, but humor me on this one. Yiseng writing poems in the Book of Vengeance. You're lying if you don't think that sounds equally funny and badass. Also, Yiseng has a strong sense of loyalty to his family, which reflects on how Ricardo is with the middle. I am really scared Ricardo is going to die in Canto 9. I will cry when we see his death sprite. I'm not ready. Alright, it's time for the Magical Girl Identity Speed Round. King of Greed. A pure charge tank ID who inflicts stagger damage and blunt fragility. His gimmick in his quote-unquote tank egg state would be anytime he blocks, he applies quote-unquote fragment of bliss to his allies, which is basically just an empowered version of charge barrier that makes the units recover from stagger if staggered. King of Greed would fit Murcell the best due to their common choice of armaments, fists and gauntlets. As we've seen time and time again, gender is never a limit when it comes to who gets an ID. Some Cinders get woman while being a man, and others get men while being a woman. This ID would have a special use case of Unrelenting, where wherever his HP drops below 0 in his quote-unquote egg form, he turns into a DPS with attack weight and transforms his skill 3-1 into skill 3-2. This, however, would come with the downside of making skill 3-2 target allies if SP is below a certain threshold, and using skills in this state will reduce SP over turns, so it is a double-edged sword. Servant of Wrath. The fourth and final magical girl. Might as well put it on the male center of the most female IDs, Heathcliff. Heathcliff will be a DPS support and a burn/charge unit which inflicts Cane onto enemies. If Cane is exhausted by any skill, it turns into quote-unquote erosion, which is a special type of burn that spends burn potency rather than count to deal gluttony damage. Any Cane spent on an enemy will give the ally with the lowest percentage of HP 3 to 5% HP healed. If there is a certain threshold of Canes on the target before using skill 3 will transform in skill 3-2, which has 5 attack weight and inflicts 5 erosion at the end of the attack to all parties affected by skill 3-2. Nihil. Give me a second, this one is really complicated. Nihil will be a quote-unquote leader ID for the magical girls, purely a charge ID focused on debuffing/enhancing the magical girl IDs. Nihil will be able to directly target magical girls with his defensive skill Nyx, which increases his special charge potency depending on if the right magical girl is selected for the buff. Automatically does it in unfocused encounters. This quote-unquote buff will provide different effects depending on the magical girl. A damage up for Queen of Hatred, count application for Knight of Despair, protection for King of Greed, and clash power for Servant of Wrath. Upon reaching 4 potency in Nihil's unique charge, when using their skill free, it will apply the quote-unquote hope status to every magical girl for 4 turns. This will cause every magical girl at turn start to use their skill 2 as unopposed attacks, give them every single buff as mentioned before, and changes every magical girl's defensive skill to a clashable guard called the quote-unquote hope that makes their closest magical girl to them in deployment order use their skill 1 on the target. This ID builds off gimmicks we've previously seen in Limbus, but amplifies the usage of charge potency that really hasn't been touched on just yet. Also, making magical girls use the power of friendship just like the realization is fucking peak, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Last thing I want in this game. Laetitia! I've been playing L-Corp recently and I fucking love this abnormality. She's so silly and 10 times less annoying than her fight in Runa. Also, her ego gear is great and I'd love to see it translated to an ID alongside her gift mechanic. If not that, then maybe an ego for her sinner. Put my girl in the game. Any IDs you want to see? Those were just a few IDs I had and wanted to let loose. Any IDs you personally want to see in this game? Can be from this game or previous games, doesn't matter. Anyways, have a good day and be good people.